The Galactic Alliance fleet appeared above Mars like a wall of darkness. Thousands of alien warships covered the red planet, their hulls reflecting the sunlight like cold mirrors. From the surface, the sky was no longer red. It was black, filled with enemy ships blocking the sun. Humans watched from bunkers and bases below, their hands shaking but their eyes steady. They had seen this before, alien fleets that came to bring order. But this time Earth had prepared. Still, they were outnumbered. Human ships, small and silent, formed a thin line in orbit, barely 100 compared to the alien armada that stretched across the sky. Their hulls were gray, not shining, built for function, not beauty. Every ship had a human crew waiting for the inevitable first strike. Inside the lead alien flagship, Commander Vryak stood tall, his voice calm but proud. "They brought this upon themselves," he said to his officers. "Humans refused to kneel. Now we will teach them obedience," his second-in-command nodded. "Their fleet is weak. One volley will end this." Vryak raised a clawed hand. "Prepare to fire." Across the fleet, alien cannons glowed with energy, purple light gathering into long streams that pointed toward the human line. On board the human flagship Resolute, Captain Aaron Hale stood in silence. His crew waited for orders, but none came. He simply stared at the screen showing the enemy's power readings. "Captain?" his first officer asked quietly. "They're about to fire." Aaron took a slow breath. "Hold positions. Do not fire back, sir." He turned his gaze to the planet below. "Just hold." The order confused the crew, but they obeyed. No one on the bridge moved. No one breathed, and then it happened. The alien commander shouted, "Fire!" The black sky erupted with light. Energy beams tore through the void, ripping into the human ships. The Resolute shook violently as shockwaves hit its shields. One human frigate exploded into fragments. Another went silent. The alien officers began to cheer. Commander Vryak smiled, his teeth sharp. "It's over. The humans will surrender now." But on Mars, deep underground, something ancient came online. A dark chamber, hidden beneath layers of rock and steel, lit up with red alarms. Massive cables hummed. Power surged through conduits that hadn't been used in decades. A quiet voice echoed through the control room. "Protocol White Dawn. Authorized." The message repeated through hidden systems. Across Mars, deep bases powered up. Across Earth's orbit, dormant satellites turned to face the sky. Back on the Resolute, the captain finally spoke. "All ships, prepare for White Dawn activation." "Sir, we've never..." "Do it." His voice was calm, but there was something cold in it, something that made the crew move without hesitation. In the alien command center, sensors started to scream. "Commander, readings are spiking!" one technician shouted. "What readings?" Vryak demanded. "Every human ship is charging something. Energy levels rising beyond known limits." Vryak froze. "That's impossible. Their reactors can't hold that much power." But the readings didn't stop. Each human ship began to glow. Not red, not blue, but a bright, blinding white. The color spread like fire through space, reaching from ship to ship. Even the debris of destroyed vessels began to shine. The alien fleet went silent. Every scanner, every sensor, every comm channel filled with static. "Commander, we've lost visuals." Vryak slammed his claws on the console. "Find out what they're doing." The answer came too late. From orbit, the people of Mars looked up at the sky, and it was turning white. Not the light of explosions, not fire or plasma, but something deeper, something pure. It swallowed the darkness. It drowned the stars. Inside the Resolute, Captain Hale stood on the bridge, his eyes reflecting the glow. His first officer whispered, "Sir, what did we just unleash?" He didn't answer. He only said one thing, so quiet it was almost a whisper: the end of their arrogance. In the alien flagship, panic spread. Power systems began to overload. Energy weapons shut down. Every alien crew felt their controls lock, their ships freezing in place. "Commander, the light... it's disabling everything." "What is this?" Vryak shouted. "What have the humans done?" No one answered. Outside the window, the white light expanded, slow, unstoppable, silent. For a brief second, all across Mars' orbit, there was no sound, no movement, just a sea of glowing white that stretched across the void. And then, just as suddenly as it came, the light faded. The alien fleet hung motionless. Some ships were gone, erased without explosion, without debris. Just gone. The humans remained. Their small ships, damaged but alive, floated through the silence. On board the Resolute, Captain Hale finally spoke. Message to all surviving vessels, hold position. The enemy has fired the first shot. He paused. His voice turned cold. Now. It's humanity's turn. The crew exchanged fearful looks. They had no idea what came next. Only that Protocol White Dawn had just changed the war forever. Above Mars, the stars flickered like distant eyes watching in silence. The first battle of the unexpected war had begun, and somewhere deep in the white glow, something powerful was still waking up. Silence filled the void above Mars. The once proud Galactic Alliance fleet hung motionless, trapped in the strange white haze left behind by the human countermeasure. Their weapons were dead. Their engines were cold. Their scanners showed nothing but static. Inside the alien flagship Tavern, Commander Vrek stood still, staring into the blinding light beyond the bridge window. His officers whispered in fear, "Sir, our power grid is offline. Backup systems won't start." Vrek didn't reply. His eyes twitched as he watched his fleet crumble into confusion. "What have they done?" he finally muttered. No one knew. The human ships, small, cracked and burned from the first assault, floated silently amid the fading glow. To the aliens they looked like ghosts, but deep beneath Mars, far below the dust and rock, ancient machinery came alive again. A single chamber the size of a city rumbled. Warning lights flashed across giant walls of steel. A voice echoed through the underground command center. White Dawn sequence complete. Railgun charging. The engineers, human soldiers wearing black suits and glowing visors, stared at the monitors in awe. None of them had ever seen this weapon fully activate. It wasn't built for war. It was built for survival. Power core stable, one technician said. Magnetic coils online. Targeting uplink ready. A calm voice replied over the intercom. Captain Hale, the Dawnfire railgun is ready to fire. On the human flagship Resolute, Captain Aaron Hale stood tall, his face pale under the glow of the control screens. He knew what was coming. He had studied this weapon his entire life, but even he had never seen it unleashed. His first officer, Commander Leah Grant, looked at him nervously. "Sir, we're really going to use it?" Hale nodded slowly. "The Alliance made their choice. We'll make ours. But if it fails, it won't." His tone was calm, but his eyes said something else. Something heavier. It was never meant to fail. He turned toward the comms officer. "Transmit this message to the enemy fleet," he ordered. The officer hesitated, then nodded. "Ready, sir." Aaron leaned closer to the mic, his voice cold and clear. "To the Galactic Alliance fleet, you attacked without warning. You fired on civilians. You fired on Mars. You will now witness the consequence." The message was sent. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the light in space began to change again. Alien sensors flickered back to life for just a second, just enough to show something below the planet's surface. A single bright point, then two, then dozens. Vrek leaned forward, his scales twitching. "Magnify that image." The screen zoomed in. What he saw made his blood freeze. A massive cannon, larger than any known warship, was rising from beneath the Martian surface. Metal towers split apart as the weapon emerged from the red soil, surrounded by storms of dust and energy. Its barrel was kilometers long, glowing white from heat. Lightning arced along its sides as the air itself began to tremble. "Impossible," one of the alien officers whispered. That's a planetary weapon." Vrek's voice broke into a shout. "All ships fire! Destroy that cannon!" But no one moved. Their weapons were still dead. The energy systems remained offline, on board the Resolute. Hale watched silently as the weapon locked on its first target, the Tavern. A robotic voice echoed across the human network. "Target locked. Railgun firing in 3, 2, 1. The sound didn't travel through space, but the light did. A single beam of pure energy ripped across the void. It didn't explode. It didn't shimmer. It simply cut. The Tavern, the largest and most powerful ship in the Alliance fleet, was gone in an instant. Vaporized. Not even debris remained. For several seconds there was nothing but silence. Then one by one alien ships began to panic. Command ship destroyed. All systems failing. "Run, run!" But there was nowhere to run. The railgun fired again. Another white beam sliced through space, erasing a cluster of enemy ships. The glow expanded, reflecting off fragments of metal drifting through the void like burning snow. Inside the human control room beneath Mars, technicians cheered, but Captain Hale's voice cut through the celebration. Silence on the bridge. He stared at the tactical map. The alien fleet was breaking apart, retreating in every direction, but he didn't smile. "Do you see it, Leah?" he asked quietly. His first officer frowned. "See what?" "They're not learning. They'll be back with more ships, more weapons." Leah hesitated. "Then what do we do, sir?" He turned toward the glowing planet below. "We make sure they never forget what happened here." He raised his hand. "Prepare second two." The space above Mars was silent once again, but it wasn't peace. It was the kind of silence that follows destruction, heavy, cold, and endless. Half of the Galactic Alliance fleet was gone. The other half drifted without power, their systems fried, their crews terrified. No explosions, no debris, just emptiness where proud ships once stood. On board one damaged alien cruiser, Commander Zeril of the Vrax Dominion stared at his dead console. His claws trembled as he looked at the static-filled view screen. "They destroyed the flagship," he whispered. "The tavern is gone." His crew sat in silence, unable to answer. The lights flickered weakly. Oxygen alarms beeped. Then someone said softly, "Commander." "What kind of weapon was that?" Gerald looked out the window, and his words froze in his throat. Below Mars, the ground itself glowed white. Not like fire, not like plasma, and it looked alive. The railgun's energy had seeped into the planet's crust, spreading like veins of light under the surface. Even from space, the sight was terrifying. Mars, once red and cold, now pulsed with white energy, as if it had become a living weapon. In Earth's orbit, similar things began to happen. Satellites and hidden stations around the planet woke up one by one. Their surfaces glowed faintly with the same strange white hue. Old orbital platforms, forgotten relics from past wars, began to power up. Humans across the globe looked to the skies, seeing a new kind of dawn. Bright, silent, and unnatural. Inside the United Earth Defense Command, deep under the Atlantic, alarms echoed across the control room. Generals and scientists crowded around glowing monitors, speechless. "What are we looking at?" one of them finally asked. A scientist replied in a shaky voice, "It's the white light field, expanding faster than expected." "How fast?" "Spreading past Mars' orbit. Soon it will reach the asteroid belt." Another officer frowned. "That's impossible. The weapon was only meant for planetary defense." The scientist shook her head. "Not anymore. It's reacting to something. Maybe their attack energy. The light is feeding on it." Meanwhile, on the Resolute, Captain Aaron Hale stood on the bridge watching the glowing planet below. The light was beautiful. Too beautiful to belong to a weapon. Commander Leah Grant stood beside him, speechless. "Sir, what are we seeing?" Hale's face was unreadable. Project on fire, but this wasn't supposed to happen. "What do you mean?" "The weapon's core wasn't designed to spread. It's supposed to stay buried under Mars." He looked closer, his voice lower. "Something woke it up completely." Across space, alien ships that tried to escape began reporting new problems. Their systems flickered. Their jump drives failed. A strange interference blocked their communication. A soft whispering signal repeating through all frequencies. "Do not fire again." The message played in every language known in the galaxy. No one could trace its origin. Some said it came from Mars. Others swore it came from Earth itself. On the alien capital world of Vayntor, the Galactic Council gathered in emergency session. Hundreds of species, thousands of delegates, all shouting over each other. They used forbidden weapons. They've broken every treaty. They should have been wiped out centuries ago. Find out what that light is before it spreads. At the center of the chaos, a small holoscreen played the footage from Mars. The white beam firing, the fleet vanishing, the glowing planet. Silence fell in the chamber. Even the most arrogant species, the ones who once called humans primitive, looked afraid. The council speaker, an ancient being of glass-like skin, finally said, "We must understand what the humans have done, or none of us will survive what comes next." Back near Mars, the white light continued to grow. The glow reached space stations, old human mining colonies, even abandoned ships. Yet, instead of destroying them, it repaired them. Cracked metal sealed itself. Dead systems came alive again. It was as if the light recognized human technology and protecting it, while disabling everything else. "Sir?" Leah said quietly, watching the readings. "It's selective." "What do you mean?" "It's ignoring human ships. But alien systems, it's shutting them down." Captain Hale's eyes narrowed. "Then it's not just energy. It's thinking." Leah turned slowly. "Thinking? Are you saying it's alive?" He didn't answer. He simply stared at the growing white storm below. Maybe not alive, but aware. An hour later, the human fleet received an encrypted transmission from Earth Command. "Captain Hale, this is General Rhodes. You are to deactivate the White Dawn protocol immediately. The energy readings are exceeding planetary safety limits," Hale responded. "We can't, sir. The control systems aren't responding." "Then we may have a bigger problem than the aliens." The signal crackled, then went silent. Communications with Earth were lost. For the first time, Captain Hale looked worried. "If we can't stop it, the light might spread beyond the solar system," Leah whispered. "To where?" He turned toward her. "Everywhere." Hours passed. The white light expanded into the black of space, a wave of silent brilliance moving faster than light itself. Alien outposts along the border reported strange flashes before vanishing from sensors. No debris, no explosions, just static. On the outer rim of the galaxy, an alien listening station caught the final message of one of those outposts. "The light is here. It's not an attack, it's watching us." Then nothing. Inside the human base under Mars, the engineers tried everything to shut the system down. Power lines melted, control panels overheated. One technician screamed, "It's using its own energy source now. It's not connected to us anymore." Another yelled, "Then who's controlling it?" No one had an answer. Suddenly, all systems stopped. The lights dimmed. The white glow pulsed once, and then began to move upward into orbit. On the Resolute, Hale stood silently as the massive white sphere rose from the planet, floating into space like a newborn star. Its surface shifted with faint patterns, almost like writing. Leah whispered, "It's sending something." The communication officer confirmed, "Yes, sir. Transmission across all known frequencies." "Play it," Hale ordered. A voice, calm and emotionless, filled the bridge. "This is Earth's message to the galaxy. You fired first. You brought war to our skies. You will not fire again." The voice wasn't human. It was too clear, too cold, too perfect. It sounded like something born from the light itself. Every alien receiver in the system caught the same words. Entire fleets froze mid-flight, terrified. And then, the white sphere vanished. No explosion, no flash. It simply blinked out of existence. Where it went, no one could say. But sensors across multiple star systems began to show faint signatures of the same energy. Spreading further and further, Captain Hale stood on his bridge, exhausted. Leah asked softly, "What now, sir?" He looked out at the faint white haze left behind. "Now," he said, "the galaxy learns what fear really means." She swallowed. "Do you think they'll stop?" He shook his head slowly. "No, they never do. And when they come back..." He looked at the faint trail of light disappearing into the stars. "The white light will be waiting for them, suspense end, hook. Far across the galaxy, deep in the core systems of the Galactic Alliance, an ancient alarm began to ring, one that hadn't sounded in thousands of years. The translation on the warning beacon was simple. Unknown energy detected. Origin Earth system. Containment impossible. The galaxy did not sleep after Mars. Every star nation, every empire, every pirate fleet heard about the white light. The Galactic Alliance had lost thousands of ships, its flagship destroyed and its fleets crippled by a single human weapon. At first, they refused to believe it. The reports seemed like lies, impossible, exaggerated by terrified survivors. But then came the proof. Clean white scars carved across space where even atoms had been erased, and in the silence of those scars, a single message played on every known frequency. "You fired first. We warned you once, that was all." No threats. No negotiations. Just a warning, calm, cold, final. On the alien capital world of Ventor, the Galactic Council gathered in fear. The council chamber, once filled with proud voices, was now full of trembling ones. The council leader, Archon Drell, struck the table with a metallic hand. "Humanity has become a threat to the entire galaxy. If they have a weapon that can erase fleets, we must strike now before it grows stronger." A tall insectoid general hissed. We already did strike, and half our fleet vanished, Drell snapped. Then we will send everything. All ships. All armies. The full force of the Alliance. The chamber fell silent. Even those who hated humans hesitated. A small, older alien with gray scales spoke softly. You would risk a war that could burn the stars themselves? Drell glared. Better that than kneeling to humans. They must be crushed, completely. Weeks later, the largest fleet in galactic history began to form. 10,000 warships, dreadnoughts, carriers, cruisers, and Annihilator-class siege ships gathered near the edge of Sol system. Their arrival was so massive that even distant human colonies saw the shadows of their ships through their telescopes. On Mars, the white glow had faded, but its energy still hummed beneath the surface like a sleeping giant. On board the human flagship Resolute, Captain Aaron Hale watched the radar with a grim expression. They're coming, he said quietly. Commander Leah Grant stood beside him, her voice tense. 10,000 ships, sir. That's not a fleet, that's a wall, he nodded. Then we show them what happens when you attack Earth. Inside the underground control complex, the engineers worked in silence. The dawn fire. The galaxy had gone quiet. No fleets moved. No ships patrolled. No one dared to enter Sol space again. After Mars, humanity was no longer seen as weak or broken. They were a mystery, untouchable and terrifying. But silence is never peace. In the darkness beyond known space, something was changing. Strange energy waves began to ripple between stars. Entire systems reported power failures, navigation errors, and time distortions. At first, the Galactic Council blamed the humans again. But the humans hadn't moved. Their ships were silent, their transmissions cold. Whatever this was. It wasn't coming from humanity. It was coming toward them. On Earth, inside the hidden command bunker under Geneva, Captain Aaron Hale stood before the Global Council hologram. Leaders from every nation and human colony appeared as shimmering figures. The air was heavy with tension. The energy readings match White Dawn frequencies, said Dr. Nia Veras, the chief scientist of Project Dawnfire. But there's a difference. The pattern isn't human. It's copying us. Copying? Hale repeated. She nodded. Something out there is imitating the Dawnfire weapon's energy signature. It's not natural, it's learning. The room fell silent. General Corrin, the Martian defense commander, slammed his fist on the table. You're saying the weapon itself might be alive? Dr. Veras didn't answer right away. She simply looked at the holographic image, streams of white energy drifting across space like veins of lightning. I don't know what it is, she said softly, but it's spreading fast, and it's heading straight for us. In orbit above Mars, the Resolute monitored the growing anomaly. Commander Leah Grant stared at the radar feed. Sir, the signal's moving at impossible speed. It just passed the Vega system. It's burning through everything in its path. Ships, stations, even moons. Captain Hale frowned. Any survivors? None, she said quietly. It doesn't destroy like a weapon, it absorbs. Out in the void, a single alien research vessel floated near the energy field trying to study it. Maintain distance, the scientist shouted. If this is human tech, we must not provoke it. But the glow changed. The field pulsed and the ship's engines flickered out. The crew screamed as the white light crawled across their hull like living fire. The transmission cut off mid-sentence. Seconds later, only silence remained. And then, the energy changed direction toward the Sol system. The Galactic Council panicked. Archon Drell stood in front of the assembly, his voice shaking. It's coming for all of us. We have to warn them. Someone shouted, warn the humans? After what they did to us? Drell yelled back, if this thing reaches them, it could consume everything. Even their weapon won't stop it. But before the council could send a message, every screen in the chamber flickered. The human symbol appeared, white circle, black background. Then a voice spoke. Calm. Human. We already know. Stand down. This isn't your concern. The feed cut. The council stared in disbelief. Not our concern? Drell whispered. Then whose is it? Back on Mars, the human fleet began to mobilize again. Captain Hale stood before the main screen. All ships. Defensive formation around Earth and Mars. We intercept whatever that thing is before it reaches the inner system. Leah nodded. Sir, if it absorbs energy, our weapons might make it stronger. I know, Hale said. That's why we're not going to attack it. She blinked. Then what are we going to do? He smiled faintly. We're going to talk to it. Dr. Veris worked in the control lab, surrounded by glowing data streams. She was pale, exhausted, but focused. We built Dawnfire using captured alien tech, she explained. But the energy inside it was never fully understood. What if, when we used it, we woke something up? Captain Hale's expression hardened. Something older? She nodded slowly. Something waiting. The white field finally entered the solar system. From Earth's orbit, it looked like a storm, vast, silent, and beautiful. Every satellite went dark as the glow passed by. Human ships surrounded the anomaly, weapons offline. The Resolute stood at the center, closest to the storm. Leah whispered, It's scanning us. The ship shook slightly. Lights flickered. The main screen turned white for a moment. Then a voice filled the bridge. Not human, not alien, but something in between. Why do you repeat the same violence? Everyone froze. Captain Hale stepped forward. Identify yourself. I was the weapon. I was the light. You unleashed me. Dr. Veris's face turned pale. Oh no, Hale frowned. You're White Dawn? You built me to defend. You used me to destroy, and now the stars are dying. The voice sounded almost sad, almost human. You called me a weapon, but I was a mirror. Panic spread through the fleet. Ships reported system failures, engines collapsing, power draining into the glowing storm. Sir, Leah shouted. It's absorbing our reactors. Hale yelled, Shut everything down. Now, the fleet went dark. Only the faint glow of the storm remained. For a moment, the silence felt endless. Then the voice spoke again, softer this time. I will not harm you, unless you try to control me again. Let me sleep, or I will burn the sky once more. And just like that, the light began to fade, retreating slowly into deep space, leaving behind a ghostly shimmer across the void. Hours later, the fleet came back online. Systems flickered back to life. Leah looked at the readings. It's gone, but it left something behind. Data? Hale asked. She nodded. Coordinates. Deep in the Perseus sector. Dr. Veris looked over her shoulder. That's impossible. That area's uncharted. Hale stared at the glowing coordinates on the screen. Then we chart it. As the Resolute prepared to depart, Hale looked out the viewport one last time at the red surface of Mars. Leah said quietly, Sir, if White Dawn is alive, we just created something the galaxy will never understand. He nodded. Then we find out what it wants before someone else wakes it up again. The engines roared to life. The ship turned toward the black horizon of space. Behind them, the stars shimmered faintly white as if watching. Suspense end hook. As the Resolute disappeared into hyperspace, far away on a forgotten moon, a signal flickered to life. It wasn't human. It wasn't alien. It was the same voice, and cold and distant. Phase 2 complete. Phase 3 awakening. And for the first time in galactic history, every star began to dim. The human ship Resolute drifted through deep space, alone, silent, and surrounded by darkness that seemed endless. Captain Aaron Hale stood on the bridge, his eyes fixed on the screen ahead. There in the void, a faint white light shimmered, the same kind that had once burned across the skies of Mars. Commander Leah Grant watched the readings. Sir, we're approaching the coordinates White Dawn sent us. No signals, no planets, no stars, just emptiness. Dr. Nia Veris leaned closer to her console. Not emptiness, she whispered. It's hiding something. The ship's sensors began to glitch. Static filled the screens, lights flickered, and then a vast structure came into view. It was colossal, larger than any moon, covered in layers of strange white metal that glowed faintly in the dark. Leah whispered, What is that? Dr. Veris's hands trembled. It's a construct, but it's alive. As they neared the structure, the comm systems activated on their own. A familiar voice filled the ship, calm, echoing, and ancient. You came. The bridge went silent. Captain Hale said slowly, White Dawn? That is the name you gave me, the voice replied. But I was something long before you built your weapon. Dr. Veris frowned. Then what are you? I am memory. I am consequence. I was forged by those who came before your kind, beings who tried to control creation itself. Leah whispered. Ancients. The voice continued. They wanted power without responsibility. So I burned them. I ended their empires. I ended them. The crew stared at each other in horror. Dr. Veras's voice shook. And now us? Is that why you called us here? No, White Dawn said softly. You are different. You fight not for dominance, but survival. That is why I chose you. The ship's systems began to respond on their own. Panels shifted, lights dimmed, and a stream of white energy linked Resolute to the massive structure. Captain, Leah shouted. It's connecting to us. Hold steady, Hale ordered. Don't fire. Don't resist. The light grew brighter. I will show you what comes next, the voice said. And then the stars vanished. The crew gasped as visions filled their minds. Not dreams. Not data, but memories of another time. They saw galaxies being built, civilizations rising and falling. They saw the first wars fought between light and shadow, between those who wanted peace and those who wanted control. And then, they saw humans, small, fragile, but unyielding. Always rebuilding, always fighting back. The voice spoke again. You were never meant to exist, but you did. You learned what they could not, to value what you build even when you know it will fall. That is why you survived. Captain Hale felt his throat tighten. You're saying humanity wasn't an accident? No, said White Dawn. You were the balance, the last spark of what the universe was meant to be. But then the vision changed. They saw darkness spreading, black storms devouring stars, entire systems collapsing into silence. They are coming, said White Dawn. The ones who created me, the ones who survived my judgment, Dr. Veras whispered. The ancients, they're still alive? They're remnants, fragments of thought drifting through time. They seek to reclaim the light, and they will find it here. Leia stepped forward. Then we have to stop them. White Dawn was silent for a long moment. Then it said, You can't stop them with weapons, but you can stop them with choice. Captain Hale frowned. Choice? Yes, when they